Cuba, the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of the America ALBA-TCP rejected the exclusion and coercion of peoples during the closing of its 21st Summit of Heads of State and Government. Argentinian health authorities confirmed the first 2 cases of monkeypox in the country. Russian defense authorities urged the World Health Organization to investigate Washington-sponsored biolabs in Nigeria. Hi, this is From the South. I am your news anchor, Dio Martin, from the teleSUR studios in Havana. We begin with the news. On Friday, Latin American and Caribbean heads of state as well as top officials held the 21st Summit of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of America People's Trade Treaty ALBA-TCP in Havana. Cuba's President Miguel Díaz-Canel rejected the United States' interference in Cuba's internal affairs and its deceitful maneuvers to divide Latin America. The President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, recalled ALBA's achievements in terms of regional cooperation in several fields under an equality premise. Other heads of state and top officials of member states also demanded a fair U.S. policy towards the region, especially towards Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, as well as condemned these nations' exclusion from the Summit of the Americas. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel made the introductory remarks at the 21st Summit of the Bolivarian Alternative for the Americas held on Friday in Havana, Cuba. He recalled that ALBA, created by Cuba and Venezuela, sprung as a historical need from ideas and Bolívar and José Martí on revolutionary solidarity. Díaz-Canel also said that the COVID-19 pandemic put all countries to the test.
It is a united Latin America with a proper voice and articulated in the coordination of development and the defense of sovereignty appears to be essential. If we are fragmented, we can be ignored, but together no one can silence us. The development and potentials of the pharmaceutical industry in Cuba, which is a legacy of Fidel Castro, has enabled us to produce 3 vaccines with high levels of effectiveness.
The ALBA-TCP Secretary General Sasha Laurenti read the final declaration of the organization's member states, in which they support multilateralism as a way to face regional problems and announced the attempts of the United States to divide the region to benefit its interests.
Firm support to multilateralism as a main tool to face the diverse and complex challenges the world is going through a collective action. 4. We denounce pretensions of dominance by the U.S. over the peoples of Latin America and the Caribbean to maintain the region divided for their own interests.
During his speech, President Maduro also spoke of new and better times ahead for the countries of the region, thanks to the unity presented by the ALBA-TCP member states. He also expressed that the sovereignty of the peoples must be respected.
And better times are approaching. New and better times come for the countries of the Caribbean and Latin America. And these times will arrive and will appear from these battles that we wage right here, because we want our continent to be respected, because our countries need to be respected.
Bolivia's President Luis Arce denounced the exclusion of Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela from the Summit of the Americas and called for the unity of all countries of the region to face the current and future challenges of humanity.
A sustainable future for our America will depend in the ability for us to come together to face the great challenges that humanity faces: poverty, hunger, disequality, economic crisis, the great gap between rich and poor, sparked by the system that prioritizes the reproduction and production of capital before the reproduction of life, and is also creating a climate collapse without a point of return.
During his speech at the 21st Summit of Heads of State and Government of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of America People's Trade Treaty, Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega highlighted the essences of imperialism.
Imperialism has not changed. The essence of imperialism is there. Their essence is totally criminal. There are no frontiers for them. And in the meantime, They think that the time has come for establishing total hegemony of the American imperialism in the whole world.
Speaking via video conference, Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit addressed the members of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Americas, ALBA-TCP, gathered in Havana. Skerrit made an overview of the importance of such entities as the ALBA-TCP for channeling South-South solidarity, especially at difficult times like the COVID-19 pandemic. He particularly mentioned Cuba and Venezuela, and he objected to having countries from the region excluded from the coming Americas Summit.
And we have to face attempts to divide us. These attempts will not be successful. And we saw what happened in particular with COVID-19 in the Caribbean. We have to have in mind what we experiment during the pandemics. If it had not been for countries like Cuba and Venezuela, thousands of our citizens would have died.
In the meantime, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Antigua and Barbuda, Evely Pouchet-Green, stated the importance of the summit at a time when the world is struggling with the effects of the pandemic and the crisis in Ukraine.
This summit is very important because all member states have suffered effects by the pandemic. The fact that global community has not been able to reduce this crisis has caused a bigger uncertainty, and as a result, the Ukrainian crisis has had an effect in the global economic development.
During his intervention in the 21st summit of the ALBA-TCP, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, stated that the regional organization supports the principles of inclusion and that the host of the Americas Summit, the United States, has no right to exclude any country.
ALBA-TCP, in this declaration, reaffirms the principle of inclusion, that no country in the hemisphere should be excluded from the summit, and the host does not have the right to determine who attends or who doesn't. It has no right to invite whoever wants to attend and whoever does not want to attend, apart from the fact that this is wrong.
Speaking at the 21st Summit of Heads of State and Government of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America and on behalf of the people of Grenada, the Minister of Health, Nicolas Steve, recalled the devastating consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic.
This pandemic has forced us to use mouth masks and to maintain physical distance and not to embrace ourselves as we are used to close frontiers and to limit frontiers. It has damaged our economies and had psychosocial effects on our people. It has divided ourselves. In other words, it has divided us.
The St. Kitts and Nevis ambassador to CARICOM, Lionel Sidney, expressed his eternal gratitude towards the government and people of Cuba for helping his country in the most difficult time with the COVID-19 pandemic.
We have collaborated in areas of education, health, and disaster management. Cuba, for example, helped us in our most difficult times of pandemic by offering a number of professionals in healthcare that helped us handle affected people by this disease. We're eternally grateful to the government and Cuba.
We're going to take a short break now. Please join us again after this. Hi, and welcome back to From the South. On Friday, Argentinian health authorities confirmed the detection of the second confirmed case of monkeypox. The Ministry of Health reported a second case of the disease in a Spanish citizen who was visiting the country, stating that there is no link with the first case detected. In this context, Ecuador and Bolivia registered respectively one suspected case of simic smallpox. At the same time, health officials from both countries are waiting for the results of the detection tests. The WHO said that the two cases in Argentina are added to the 379 cases registered in the world. The government of Guatemala announced that it will request the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, to cease its operations in the Central American nation. The president of Guatemala, Alejandro Giammattei, denounced the alleged plans of the government of Washington to remove him. The president pointed out that Biden's administration wants to introduce a multicultural agenda to the country, which he cataloged as indigenism. In this context, Giammattei demanded the exit of the USAID for its interference in the internal affairs of the nation. The relationship between the two countries deteriorated after the re-election of the Attorney General Consuelo Porras by Giammattei's decision. Porras was sanctioned in September 2021 by the U.S., accused of obstructing justice in high-impact cases in the country. Russian defense authorities urged the World Health Organization to investigate Washington-sponsored biolaboratories in Nigeria. The director of the Radiological, Chemical, and Biological Defense Forces of the Russian Armed Forces, Igor Kirillov, warned that according to the WHO's reports, the West African variant of the simic smallpox pathogen came from Nigeria, where United States-sponsored biological laboratories are operating. Authorities noted that these labs were set up in the cities of Abuja, Zaria, and Lagos. In this context, they stressed that there is a precedent of numerous cases of U.S. violations of biosafety requirements and negligent storage of pathogenic biomaterials, referring to recent allegations of the use of biolabs in Ukraine for the development of chemical and biological weapons. The first Eurasian Economic Forum in the Kyrgyz capital of Bishkek concluded on Friday with the signing of 17 cooperation programs in different areas. In a press briefing, the spokeswoman for the Eurasian Economic Commission, Iya Maliki, noted that the agreements reached include the transportation of agricultural products and foodstuffs, as well as accelerated rail transport of goods. She also pointed out that thanks to these projects, the first tons of agricultural products will be shipped from the Kyrgyz Republic to the Russian Federation. The event took place on May 26th with the participation of 2,500 union representatives from at least 25 countries, including Southeast Asia and Latin America. Russian Security Council Secretary Nikolai Patrushev said that over half of Afghanistan's population suffers of hunger. According to the official, 95% of the inhabitants suffer more or less from food shortages, while 55% face hunger. Patrushev warned that due to the situation in Afghanistan, there is a risk that the refugees will not only move to Iran and Pakistan, which receive more than 80% of the migrants, but also to Central Asian countries. Afghanistan plunged into chaos after the fall of President Ashraf Ghani on August 15th, when the Taliban movement seized power to end 2 decades of armed conflict with the U.S.-imposed government. We have more news coming up after a final short break. Please stay with us. And welcome back. According to the International Organization for Migration, up to 600 people attempting to reach Europe by sea from Tunisia and Libya have gone missing during the first 3 months of 2022. This is the highest figure recorded since 2014. The new record set in the first 3 months of 2022 paints a dire picture about tragedies amassing off the North African coast with no end in sight. In 2021, the International Organization for Migration estimated that more than 1,000 people had drowned in the central Mediterranean while trying to reach European shores. In the latest tragedy, according to Tunisian authorities, a wooden boat carrying over 100 people capsized on Tuesday near the island of Kerkena in southeastern Tunisia due to bad weather. The Executive Council of the African Union met in Malabo on Thursday ahead of the 2 summits that will take place between Friday and Saturday, which will be aimed at facing the humanitarian and political crisis the continent is experiencing. The AU Commission Chairperson Moussa Faki Mahamat referred to different aspects the 20 heads of state are due to discuss, from Libya and North Africa to Mozambique and Southern Africa. from Mali and West Africa to Somalia and the Horn of Africa, across the Sahel, the Lake Chad Basin, down to the east of the DRC and Central Africa, terrorism continues to spread a deadly web with considerable consequences on finances, economies, and the people's safety, he said. Musa added that 113 million people approximately in Africa are in need of humanitarian aid. Unconstitutional changes will also be on the agenda in a second meeting on Saturday. He added that these changes have become sources of dissension and tensions that are detrimental to the stability of the states concerned. Tensions are growing in the Pacific as well. On Friday, Australia threatened the Solomon Islands with possible consequences for having entered into a security agreement with China.
Obviously, we've expressed our concerns publicly about the security agreement between Solomon Islands and China. And the reason we have is we think there are, as do other Pacific nations, we think there are consequences. We think that it's important that the security of the region be determined by the region. And historically that has been the case, and we think that's a good thing.
On Friday, Kiribati and China pledged to enhance cooperation in building the Belt and Road, dealing with climate change and fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. While meeting with visiting Chinese State Councilor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi, Kiribati President and Foreign Minister Taneti Maamu said the visit by the Chinese delegation brings mutual trust, friendship and cooperation, which bears milestone significance in the relations between Kiribati and China. Since the resumption of diplomatic relations between the two countries in September 2019, the cooperation yielded fruitful results and the substantial improvement of the well-being of the Kiribati people were witnessed, according to President Maamu. Kiribati is the second stop of Wang's tour to the South Pacific Islands nations after Solomon Islands. He will also visit Samoa, Fiji, Tonga, Vanuatu, and Papua New Guinea, as well as Timor-Leste. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin says increased Chinese cooperation with Oceania countries is focused on mutual benefits and a win-win policy, and he urged third countries not to interfere in these matters.
I want to stress that it is a long-term strategic policy of China's diplomacy to develop friendly and cooperative relations with Pacific Island countries. In developing relations with these island countries, China has followed the principle of mutual benefit, win-win results, openness and inclusiveness, seeking no exclusive rights, posing no threat to any third party, and likewise, it should not be interfered by a third party.
With that, we've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at teleSUR English. You can also join us on social media for all the latest news. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I am Dio Martin. Thank you for watching.